Probably best Pixar movie, with the exception of the Netflix movies, because I don't have Netflix, so I'm not able to see them. Yes, you can buy the overpriced Criterion collections for the movie, but I'm not gonna probably ever see the Iris Man or Marriage Story. So that leaves it down to the rest of the movies. Are the rest of the movies on here really worthy of best Pixar? So, or are they pretty overrated? Well, we'll be ranking them from the worst to the best. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 movies that I've seen. I've seen all of these movies now. So I can say in certainty, the worst one, number 7, has to be Little Woman. I did not like Little Woman. I always said many, many times I did not like this movie. People say how sad this movie is. It wasn't that sad. But the movie, you know what I'm going to compare this movie to? 5 Feet Apart. I think 5 Feet Apart been nominated more and sort of been loved more than this movie. Okay, Little Woman is basically another adaptation of Little Woman. And it's funny how the Oscars usually play this original movies. But I do like the fact that the Oscars do that. That it isn't just, the most popular movies are nominated for the best Pixar. I used to always be annoyed that it was like these random movies that nobody has ever heard of. But most of the amount of stuff that Oscars nominate are either true stories or original projects that deserve to be praised, or just absolute masterpieces that deserve to be praised as well. There was little to like about Little Woman to me. This was, compared to 5 Feet Apart, 5 Feet Apart was actually a very depressing movie. It was a very sad movie. Little Woman, the character dies. Since I don't really give a crap about the characters in Little Woman, why should I give a crap about this movie? Okay? Or the characters in this movie at all. Oh. And the person already had like a disease in the movie anyways. But Little Woman, not really that depressing. The characters are not really that great. And it's just an overall bad movie in my eyes. But a lot of the quote-unquote real movie critics love this movie. I did not like this movie. I did not like Little Woman, and I hated it. So, number 6, I think has to be Is Knives Out even on this list? I gotta see. No, Knives Out was not nominated for Best Picture. That was surprising. So, number 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So number 6 has to be Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Again, I don't really think this movie is as great as other people said it was. I was surprised that Knives Out was not here, but again, Knives Out is another pretty overrated movie. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is another pretty overrated type movie. What was so great about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? To me, the movie was a bit too long for me, and also they changed the story about the Manson and stuff as well. Again, I'm not really a big fan of Tarantino's movies. That could be another thing, but it was just okay. The storyline was pretty good, but other than that, it was another pretty overhyped, more forgettable movie out there, but was still, I think, was much more worthy of Best Picture than nomination than Little Woman was. I think even Knives Out would have been more worthy movie picks than, of course, Little Woman. But I still enjoyed watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It was basically about like Hollywood and stuff, and the characters were pretty decent as well. The acting was pretty good in the movie, so can't really hate it too much. Number 5 is Jojo Rabbit. So Jojo Rabbit is a pretty weird and strange movie. Taika Waititi is I liked his last movie for, I don't know if he made movies between Thor Ragnarok and this movie, but this movie it was about like World War II and stuff. And basically, this is kind of like one of those movies. Well, I actually just saw it, but it's kind of one of those weird type of movies. It's about like World War II and stuff, but it's about this kid who is obsessed with a certain man with a weird, funny mustache, and even has him as his imaginary friend. And basically, over the course of the film, he realizes that all the prejudices that political party must be named, named Mustache Man Party, as it's called, was wrong about a certain group of people, a certain race of people. Bull. Bull. So it's very similar to another movie called Dances with Wolves, but I don't really think it's as great as storytelling as Dances with Wolves, as Dances with Wolves is much more clear of its message compared to Jojo Rabbit, where they're trying to take a comedic role, but also trying to tell a good story. It's just kind of a mess at points. So, now begin to the big four. So, all these movies are pretty much amazing movies. So, coming at number 4 is Ford v Ferrari. This movie is basically another pretty, or outside of its range, this movie is basically a pretty good movie. It tells the story of two guys, this is another movie I've very recently seen, as well, two guys who basically race and stuff. It was pretty good. Pretty good storyline, pretty good characters, pretty good writing, acting, and everything. Pretty good shots and cinematography as well. And overall, it was a pretty fun time. The racing sequence is probably one of the best scenes of the movie, and of course, the relationship of the two main characters was also pretty great as well. Coming in at number 3, we have 1917. 1917 is a masterpiece. Yep, the top 3 movies are basically just masterpieces of film and filmmaking. Okay? This movie, 1917, is just a masterpiece of movies. Again, it's a war movie without any war, barely any war in it at all. And this movie still is so great. It's basically about these two guys that were sent on a mission to stop a battle so the Germans can't, trick them into basically, gain an easy win. And this movie was very compelling story. It's a pretty compelling story. You have great characters, great acting, and probably some of the best cinematography in the entire of the year. And also, this movie was shot in one continuous shot, so a lot of effort was put into this movie. And of course, this movie was rewarded with it actually won Golden Globe for best movie or something, but it didn't really win best picture. So yeah, there we go. Number 2, this was almost a toss-up. But number 2, I think, has to be Parasite. This was the best picture winner. And for once, I actually agree with the Oscars, but it's not my personal favorite. But I can see why they thought this movie was pretty great. So, Parasite was basically a movie, made by South Korean director Bong Joon-ho. Yep, that's his name, because that's a South Korean name. And it's basically another masterpiece in filmmaking. It's finally about time that the Oscars are giving foreign movies the rights they finally deserve. Maybe in the animated pieces, they're finally start giving Japanese animated films some attention instead of giving goddamn Disney and Pixar every single win. I think Parasite deserves Best Picture because I think it's a monumental win for foreign movies. Basically, and you very rarely see foreign movies get nominated for anything. They just get shafted apart, and a lot of foreign movies basically get ignored outside of their own section. And finally, Parasite was we acknowledge Parasite was great. We acknowledge it's the best movie of the year, and yeah, it was a pretty great movie. All the twists and turns. I think it's somebody expectations much better than Knives Out or Overrated Out, which I think it's much more. I think did Knives Out even get nominated for anything? I don't think it really did. Yeah, but it won Best International Feature as well. It also, it's just pretty great movie. It also tells a tale about poverty and basically, as well, also tells the tale of, despite, South Korea being a very rich country, there are still people living in absolute poverty. And again, poverty is something that you can't really eliminate in your country unless you have a country of 10 people and they're all super rich. Or a country like Monaco where basically 98-100% of its residents are all rich people. But Parasite basically shows that, not everybody in South Korea is a very rich person or a K-pop model. It shows the other side of South Korea, well, people are poor there too, and people that's trying to live in South Korea, both rich and poor. It also shows that the rich people are just not very good people as well. So, yep. And my favorite movie of the year, I think, out of all of these movies that they put out for, Best Picture, I think, has to be Joker. Joker is basically a very, very dark and very, very, very gritty movie, and it's basically another expert in storytelling and filmmaking. Gene. And no, it's not because, oh, the Joker is a right wing hero. No, not because of that. I don't think anybody gives a crap if Joker's a right wing hero or not. Because does anyone really care outside like a few people? No one really cares about that. But the media said they were saying how bad Joker was. It was trying to paint a bad face on Joker. But Joker is basically a masterpiece in cinematography and movie and film altogether. And I think deserves not to be ignored. And it's finally about time that we got villains get the respect instead of just always being about the good and good. It shows you the ugly truth about society. That society is not always nice to people. Society sometimes is a mean, awful, is often mean and throws people under the bus, especially the poor and the mentally disabled. This movie basically expertly shows that entire message. And yeah, now we go on movies that I think should have been nominated for Best Picture. The first movie I'm going to bring up is Alita Battle Angel. Why was this movie ignored and absolutely hated by the critics? I know her eyes are too big, but Alita, I think, is a very, very underrated movie and film. The cinematography, I think, and we also have the amazing motion capture of Alita, probably the best motion capture, since the War of the Rings series, and of course, Caesar and Planet of the Apes, and they actually did an actual person instead of like a monkey or a goblin, what Gollum is basically is, but I know he's not a goblin. I know he's basically the Hobbit guy, but he's so old they turned into Gollum, but a Hobbit, but he basically got turned into that. But you get the point, okay? Alita, you have the it was even not even nominated for this thing that people thought it would be, and that was of course best CGI. And we all know Disney was gonna pay the way for that for Avengers because they're gonna say, "Oh, but Avengers would have won anyways because Avengers was so great." But Alita, it was basically a movie that was cutting edge for CGI. And I think even its storytelling was pretty great. Where they introduced us to this universe that not many people know about, and they actually told a manga to a actual movie and actually did not make it garbage. And it's just the characters, it's just the main character was so likable and so great. But the fact that I think that Alita was just ignored by the critics was just absolutely sad. And of course, you had to follow in the direct of animated films. For example, How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. I think would have been a more worthy Best Picture nominee than, of course, Little Women. Because, of course, I think all three of the How to Train Your Dragon movies are just are amazing films and movies. Whether if you're young or old, I think they're enjoyable by all people and are an amazing trilogy of series. And of course, we had 5 Feet Apart, the movie I mentioned earlier. The critics absolutely hated 5 Feet Apart for absolutely stupid reasons, saying that, oh, it's just a rip-off of the fault of your style, so automatically means the movie's bad. But then they said the Lion King remake was a remake of an already better movie. Basically, yeah, why was 5 Feet Apart as hated by the critics? Nobody knows why. Considering the movie currently holds like a 43% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think if the critics weren't so harsh towards movie 5 Feet Apart, and instead of praising Captain Marvel and calling that movie a masterpiece because, oh my god, Captain Marvel is a woman and she has power. That's basically every Captain Marvel review. Or the fact that Charlie's Angels was considered a better film by the critics was absolutely just disgusting. And there's, of course, a lot of other more, quote-unquote, underrated movies that we could talk about. But it's just this thing stands here. I know I'm not going to put, Spider-Man No Way Home. No, that's No Way Home. Far From Home or Endgame, because I don't really think Endgame is worthy of Best Picture. Or Spider-Man Far From Home. Yes, I love those movies and them as a film, but I don't really think those movies were worthy of Best Picture. So, I think the only two that really stood out was Alita and 5 Feet Apart, and yeah, that's just why the Oscars ignore those movies. as well. But then the call, oh my god, but Little Woman is such a masterpiece. And I already made my review on Little Woman. I do not like Little Woman. I hate that movie. The Little Woman is complete garbage. Okay, I think I'm not the first person to say on the internet, but Little Woman is just complete garbage and completely an awful movie and film. Yes, there are people who do love Little Woman and do love the story, but I just find it sad that Little Woman, a story that's been told 100,000 times, was nominated for Best Picture, which I think made me hate the movie even more. The fact that, yes, this movie could have won Best Movie of the Year really made me not like Little Woman. So, yeah, that's basically it about this video. Goodbye.